Hello my friends. So it's a look in the dark, chapter 15, Irish Secrets, and this is the second part. You remember Danny and Carol were conversing about how things are going. They're actually out for a walk at Shaw's Bridge in Belfast, and a bomb went off in Belfast just a few minutes before. Danny says, yeah, well, we're trying to do that with this investigation of ours. It's going to come to a head soon, you know. We're just touching the surface, getting a little idea of the scope of it. In the not distant future, we're going to have to hand it all over to the professionals. I know, Danny boy. My own special private investigator. I'm very proud of you and love you with all my heart. She kissed her husband very tenderly, then put her head on his chest. They stood watching the flowing water. You know, Dan, life will never be the same again, will it? I know that. So you keep saying. We're not going to be the same people after this. No, we're Ricky and Sue. We're changing, not just caring. We're doing. True. Are you glad? Aye, I am. I'm really glad. I never want to go back to just moaning and groaning about how bad it all is. I want to go on being active in doing whatever seems right, but carefully, with a cool head. Aye, and a sound heart. Just like St. George out slaying dragons, eh? You keep your English, Saint. No doubt princesses were abundant back then. So what did he do? He slayed an endangered species, and it's now extinct. How often did you ever see a dragon? Alright, and so what about your St. Pat driving all the snakes out of Ireland? Well, except the human ones. What did he do for Irish wildlife? As so often happened, the serious conversation of the Greens had become a humorous slanging match, and eventually Danny picked his wife up and held her over the river, threatening to feed her to the pike. Her protests and their laughter gave amusement and a boost to the tired jogger who had passed by them, almost unnoticed. As quickly again, Danny became serious. Right, Carol, come on, it's after 1 o'clock, let's get back on the high wire. Oh yes, we have to visit a certain gentleman in East Belfast and see what makes him tick. Okay, let's pick up the rope and see if we can pull it to the right, in the right direction without sacrificing ourselves then, shall we? Danny laughed at the mental picture that flashed through his mind of Carol pulling on the end of the tightrope that he was trying to keep his balance on. As they travelled along the Beaver Road, Carol tuned into Radio Ulster, and they heard that the bomb had been in Glengall Street. There had been a warning and there were no serious casualties, though there was extensive damage at the official Unionist Party headquarters and some at the hotel and bus station nearby. The security forces had stated that the bomb seemed to be 200 pounds in size, and there was complete traffic chaos throughout the city centre routes. As Danny looked toward Beaver Park, where the RSPB had its Northern Ireland branch, he again felt the contrast of this pleasant forested area within the city and the madness a short distance away. He followed Carol's directions down the St. Field Road and turned right at Rosetta Roundabout and into the Ravenhill Road and past Dormer Park on the left and Ian Paisley's Martyrs Church on the right. Here the traffic was thick and slow, and though they were a long way from the earlier bomb blast, the chaos had spread back through the roads surrounding the centre of Belfast. At the bottom of the Ravenhill Road, which seemed a strange contrast with the upmarket residential area they had passed on the rest of the road, Carol directed her husband to the east and onto the Newton Ards Road. Carol pointed out a place to a park that was near a motorcycle shop. I used to come here for a dentist when I was at college. I think it would be better to walk from here, Dan. He wasn't going to argue. She knew best. As they walked back and into Templemore Avenue, Danny was amazed at the artistry on the gable ends of some halls. Massive figures in loyalist paramilitary uniforms, bearing arms menacingly like the Nephilim of the Book of Genesis. A little too loudly for Danny's liking, Carol said, "Mirror images of the murals in West Belfast." However, the sad reality was that it was true. Both sides in this Irish conflict were using the same means of propaganda and on occasion claiming the same heroes from Ireland's bloody history and mythology. 5 minutes steady walk and they were in Madrid Street. They knocked on Jimmy Kendall's front door. A small oldish man with a large smile, red cheeks and thin white hair opened the door. "Mr. Kendall," Danny began. "Aye, well, at least my friends all call me Jimmy." "Well, Jimmy, Danny found his friendly attitude easy to respond to. "We've come to talk to you about a bird." "Have you now?" And Jimmy studied the young Englishman carefully and spoke with caution. "Who told you to talk to me?" "A mutual friend. You helped him with a parrot last year." "Did I now?" Looking from one to the other, he liked Carol's smile. "Aye, well, you'd best come in." They entered the tidy but not elaborate home, and Jimmy invited them to sit down. He turned down the volume on the television, and the cricketers continued to test match in silence. "I'll get you a drink." "No cake, I'm afraid, just a few biscuits." "Now, if May was still here, there'd be cake. Cake by the wagon load." "Was May your wife?" "Aye, lass, she was." He paused in the door through to the kitchen. "Married for 43 years, and every one a pleasure. 2 years ago March passed. She was washing up at the sink there and just collapsed on the spot." His eyes were filling up. "I tried to help her, and so did the ambulance man, and the doctors at the hospital. She died in the early hours of the next morning. A brain hemorrhage, they said. Life is pretty hard without her." "I'm sorry." Despite the reason they were there, Danny meant it as he said it. "Do you have family near Jimmy?" Carol hoped he had sons and daughters. "Perth, in Australia. That's my son." He pointed at a photograph on a sideboard. "And my daughter and her man are working in Bangkok." Again his finger led them to the right picture. Jimmy soon appeared back from the kitchen, and as he handed them Glasgow Rangers Supporters Club mugs, he looked at Danny and grinned. "So what's this about a bird?" "We have located and purchased a very rare bird, and I want to get it into this country. I've already paid for it, but I have to get it home." Jimmy scratched his ear and pulled on his lobe. "Where is this bird now?" "In a couple of weeks it'll be in the south of England." Danny spoke with conviction, and Carol was even more amazed at how convincingly her husband could lie when the motive was good. "And tell me now, this bird, what is it?" "It's a female St. Lucia parrot." "Impossible!" Jimmy laughed out loud. "No way!" "Believe me, Jimmy, I'm no fool when it comes to birds, and nor is my wife. I've been closer to this bird than I am to you, and it certainly is a female St. Lucia. Not only that, but I'm promised a male within 3 months." "But where are they coming from?" Jimmy was excited now, just as Danny had intended. "They're as rare as pig's wings." "I do not have all the details, and I wouldn't share them if I had them. I just know that the source is reliable and that the parrot is genuine. Do you doubt that?" Jimmy Kendall paused and was pulling on his earlobe again. "I don't mean to be doubting what you say, young fella. I would have thought it unlikely, but then you've seen the bird and I haven't." "Exactly, Jimmy. I understand your shock, but if I have one and I got it to the south of England, could you get it from there to the north of Ireland?" "Oh, that would be the easy bit. The bigger challenge is getting birds from the continent. That can be done though, but from England is doddle." "How?" Danny was sticking his neck out, but this was an old man, not the IRA or Major Stanhurst, and he felt he could push it a bit. Jimmy placed his brown eyes on each of them and then gazed into space. He didn't want to tell them anything. They were people who would not like it, though they seemed genuine enough. Carol said, "Jimmy, my husband has a considerable amount of money invested in this bird, and there's no way he would entrust it to an arrangement he didn't understand, nor would I allow him to." Jimmy nodded his head. "Well, what's in it for me?" "If I made the arrangements, that is." £500 for you and whatever it costs other people. But I need to know how. I do not want to lose it. I have to know." "I think the best way would be with the fish." Excuse me. "The fish?" Carol's astonishment was expressed, but Danny was as amazed. "Aye, the fish, lad." He chuckled a little bit before continuing. "This place is hard these days with the IRA and our own boys, bringing guns in and all that. Coming in by road is pretty hard. Those ferry ports are tough at the moment. Small boats from Cornwall can meet up with small boats from here, and all manner of things can be done when the weather forecast is good for a few days. Rare enough, right enough. Is this the first time you've done this?" "No, I have an agent who could get anything anywhere in Europe. He was arrested last year. He was a German and they got him smuggling ivory." "Oh, bad trade that. No time for all that. Deserves all he gets. Live things are different." Jimmy looked disgusted. Carol was pleased that this nice old man had some morality about him. "Anyway, where has this bird got to go?" "Somewhere between Omer and Strabane is all you need to know for now, Jimmy. I would meet the bird transporters somewhere up that way. When they have the bird, I mean. Are you sure this bird would be okay on a fishing boat? Oh, aye. We only ever lost one bird. A beautiful peregrine from County Antrim. My supplier had reared it from a chick, and the stupid fool sailed out into a storm. They had to pay up to me and the person in Britain I was supplying. He's a tough guy, and I scared the life out of them, I think. I don't like him much, but he has helped me earn a few quids over the years. Danny, listening, was reaching the same conclusion as Carol, that Stanhurst was the person who had threatened the fisherman. Anyways, Jimmy continued, I don't use those guys since. I use a different boat from the same port here, and the Cornish guys are good. Pity about that beautiful peregrine. Really annoyed me. Wouldn't have harmed it for anything. Carol was watching Jimmy thoughtfully. Compared to Stanhurst, this man was almost holy, and he did seem to really care about the creatures. Yet she had to remind herself that this man was guilty, and not just of crimes against the state, but also of crimes against the environment. As well, however nice he was in it for the money. Further details were discussed. If Danny got the bird to Penzance, a fisherman from nearby Newlyn would take charge of the parrot. So what is your name? Danny looked at Jimmy and wished Karen he had discussed the matter. He smiled at the old man and said, Just call me Andrew for now, and my wife is Jennifer. Carol was pleased he accidentally chose two good Protestant names. Everything like that would count with Jimmy. Right, Andrew, Jimmy Kendall continued. After you get the bird to Cornwall with enough food for 2 weeks, you would know the right stuff. It's given a couple of days, and our Cornish friends will see it gets into the hands of a certain boat out of County Down. Then you would be contacted by me and arrangements made to meet you with the bird. So what's the name of the boat from County Down? Ha! You have to be joking. Andrew, you come here, give me a first name only, and it's probably false, and you think I'm going to give you every detail. You don't need to know all that, so is it a deal? I have to think it through. We have another possibility, bringing it through the Republican up to Donegal. Danny knew what he was at. Carol watched the reaction and realised that he was understanding Ireland better than she sometimes thought. No, Andrew, don't go through the Free State. I wouldn't trust them with a good pigeon. Listen, Jimmy. Danny took £150 from his wallet. I'll give you this as a goodwill gesture if you tell me the name of the port in County Down and the name of the boat. All I want to do is know that my priceless bird is going to be safe. It will be safe. The skipper of the boat knows as much about birds as I do, maybe more. Danny waved the money. The name of the boat, Jimmy. Don't worry, any inquiries I make are going to be very discreet. He'll never know. Jimmy Kendall was thinking about the money. He was gathering to visit his son in Perth. He was rubbing his earlobe with his thumb and forefinger again. All right. The boat is called the Mariner Millie, and she sails out of hard glass. The skipper is the owner of the boat, but you didn't hear any of this from me. He scooped up the notes more quickly than Danny had placed them on the table. Carol was impressed. Her husband had touched just the right nerve of East Belfast bigotry. Mention the Republic of Ireland, and to some of the Protestant folk it was like mentioning a cormorant to an angler. Anything rather than allow the Southern Irish near this magnificent parrot. Danny had played a trump card, won the hand, and got what he wanted. Even if Jimmy Kendall had enough notes to add his trip to Perth, to add enough notes to add to his trip to Perth, Kitty, so that he felt he was the winner. Danny had been a bit extravagant there, but Ricky had said they were not to be tight with the expense account, and he felt sure that the aristocrat would be content with the result. So, they're finding out now how it is that birds are transported in and out of Ireland, or out of the north anyway. They're getting a slightly bigger picture about things, but of course, just a small scale of what's happening worldwide. But information is being gathered. What will they do next? Find out in the next episode. Nice to share it with you, my friends. Hope you're all well. Lots of love and lots of peace to you. Bye bye now.